Start with the third chapter from your political science book of grade 12, and the name of the chapter is Parliamentary and Presidential Forms of Government. So this is also a part of forms of government. Okay, so let us begin with the parliamentary form. The parliamentary form of government, in simple terms, if you try to explain, you are going to get two kind of heads. Two executive heads will be there. One will be the nominal head and the other will be the real executive head. So the nominal executive head is the president and the real executive head is the council of minister headed by the prime minister, is the real executive head. In short, or in one word, you can say the prime minister is the real executive head. All the powers are actually lying in the hands of this real executive. And in this kind of form of government, in the parliamentary form of government, you will find that the executive is having maximum power, but it cannot work arbitrarily. It cannot take any decision abruptly by simply like that. It have to come in a decision or come with a discussion with the legislature, and then only a decision will get finalized. So you can find a very close relation between the legislative and the executive in this type of government. Okay, let's start. The parliamentary government is named so because it is constituted by those members of the parliament who are in majority, and in it the executive is responsible and subordinate to the parliament. It is also called responsible government. Okay, here you have got two definitions. You can learn the definition of Dr. Garner. This is widely acceptable by everybody. Okay, next, there are some features of this kind of government. You will find difference between the nominal and the real executive, as I was telling you. Okay, the head of the state is the nominal one. So you can say the president is the head of the state, but the constitutional head, okay, or the executive head is the real executive, and the real one is the prime minister. Structure of the real executive involves wills within wills. This you can see the diagram given in your page 59. From here you can understand what is will within wills. At the very center you can see there is prime minister. Outside that we are having the cabinet ministers, those are members of few, and then we are having the council of ministers, right? You can see how it is wills within wills. You can find there are 3 wills, but you will find exactly 4 wills are there. So the innermost will is the the real center of the power of the office of the prime minister. Okay, first in the center you can see the prime minister. Next to it is an informal will consisting of such ministers as are very close to prime minister. It is called kitchen cabinet or inner cabinet. This circle is missing here. Okay, there is another circle, as I was telling you that you are finding your 3 circles, but one more circle will be there, that is of the kitchen cabinet or the inner cabinet. The next will consist of important 15 to 20 members are called cabinet ministers. You can find that is already mentioned here. Cabinet minister who hold important portfolios and who together formulate all the policies of the state. The will is called cabinet. Okay, this will is called cabinet. It is a really powerful part of the real executive. The next will consist of the other ministers who are either in charge of small departments or are helpers, deputies is of the cabinet minister. The outermost will of the members consists of the majority part whose confidence and support in the legislature is the real source of the power is called council of ministers. You can see that circle is also given there, council of ministers. As such, the council of ministers in the whole, which consists of the several categories of ministers. Okay, so you can understand, as I'm trying to explain you, that here one circle is missing. One is the prime minister, next will be the kitchen cabinet, then will be the cabinet, and then will be the council of ministers. Let's come back. Yes, come back to this page. It is saying us about the third feature, that close and continuous relationship between the legislature and the executive. As I was trying to explain you, that the executive arbitrarily cannot take any kind of decision and apply it all over the country. It have to come with a discussion. Okay, it have to come for the discussion. All the bills, all the acts have to come for the discussion with the legislature, then only it can be applied. Ministerial responsibilities, as you know, the legislature executives are continuous control over the executive. Just because executive are in power doesn't mean that whatever they are taking the decision, that will be accepted. The legislature is always keeping an eye on the executive. Okay, no fixed tenure of the real executive is the council of ministers. Okay, the council of ministers can get dissolved anytime with no confidence motion. Okay, then we are having prime minister as the head of the government. As I was telling you, he is the head of the government. Very strong position of the prime minister is found in the parliamentary form of government, and I have already explained you this diagram. Next we are having, there is what is the relationship between the, or responsibility between the legislature and the executive. Okay, the members of the executive are also the members of the legislature. First they have to be the member of the legislature. Here the legislature means the parliament they are talking about. First you have to be the member of the parliament, and from there they will get selected to the kitchen cabinet or cabinet minister. Okay, or maybe council of ministers, wherever they get selected, first they have to be the member of legislature. So you can understand there is a close relationship between them. Okay, and the responsibility of the executive before the legislature, whenever they are getting appointed as an executive, they are doing their duty as an executive first, and then they are going for the duty, and they are performing their duty as a legislature also. So the member who is the member who is already selected as an executive can remain a member of legislature also, and have to remain a member of legislature. So one person is having dual role here. You can understand the relationship and the responsibility. So next we are having some merits. Okay, there is lots of harmony in the legislature and the executive as they are working hand by hand, and they are having a good, but you can say, laws and financial discussions are done very smoothly. It is done. And next is the executive works as a responsible executive. There is a flexibility, and parliamentary form of government works as a flexible system, because a change in the executive can be made without any major difficulty and disturbances. Okay, any kind of changes that can be done very easily. Executive cannot be despotic. This means the executive cannot become a dictator. Okay, or cannot become the supreme power of the supreme power, you can say, a very powerful organ of the government. Okay, it is having checks and balances. As it is having the power, the responsibility, the other organs are keeping, legislature is keeping a very close eye on the executive works. Okay, public opinion and opposition parties act as a good checks of the government. As I was telling you, the legislature plays a very good role over here. What are the demerits? There are a few demerits also. Executive dominates the legislature. As you got the point earlier, that anytime they are not having any kind of tenure, the executive can really with no confidence they can dismiss the legislature. Okay, so there is a little bit more overwhelming power given to the executive. Executive is weak because the tenure is not fixed. Okay, here also they are saying that with no confidence motion they can be removed anytime. Okay, executive act as an arbitrary because committed support of the majority party. As they are winning the election and forming the government, from the winning party itself the executives are getting selected. So they can act as, because they are the majority people sitting in the parliament there, so they can apply their force there. Okay, that is also one of the demerit. Maybe the opposition who have acquired very less number of seats, not getting the opportunity to speak even. or even they are able to speak, their decisions are not being counted as any major kind of opinion. Okay, political parties becomes aggressive and dirty, as because there is lots of political parties and the domination of the majority is found, the oppositions really become tired of getting ignored, so there can be aggressive and dirty politics. Hopefully you understood the chapter. We will start from the presidential form of government in the next video. Thank you.